welcome back. This is the first time I'm using a tripod, so I hope that I'm going to get the angles right. I also hope that the sound is okay because I currently am not using a microphone, but I am doing this inside so that there's less distortion from the noise on the outside. Having said that, you can hear Ciliano in the background, so there's that. But the next one that will come up will be Thierry Henry, because yeah, it'll be confusing to him as to my whereabouts. And why am I chatting to myself here in what is my dining room? Because Gloria Stella Arita sent me a message, well, a comment, and asked if I could show potting up using microfiber. And I'm like, okay, yeah, absolutely, not a problem, but how? I don't really have anything to pot. But it doesn't matter. I wanted to try something with my Podangus dactyliotheros because I'm not quite happy how it's just producing a root, and this one has stalled, and I would like to see if it would work in a semi-hydro setup. So I thought, well, why not do something with that instead of guessing around, and get on with it and do it in this video. So I hope that you can hear me okay, and let's get started. So basically, Gloria and anybody else who's interested, this is a mop strand from a big mop. It used to be a very big mop, as you can see, and I cut all the strands off, and it leaves me with strips like this. So these ones are quite good for my vandas in the summer, because I wrap some of the aerial roots into this and make it look like a mummy, and then I just keep spraying the roots, and at least they will retain more humidity. Looks funny, but it works. And then this is actually an awesome little thing that, as a remnant, I brush the orchid leaves in the winter with it. I don't wet them at all in the winter, but I can use this as a little, take the leaf and you brush off the top, just a bit superficial. Works great. So talk about recycling. So basically, if I do have a repot and I use microfiber strands in a normal pot, like with a setup like this, I have the inner mask with holes in the bottom, and then the outer mask, of course, without holes, because that is my reservoir down there. And what I just generally do is I take the strand of microfiber, and in this case, depending on what orchid is inside, if it's an oncidium, for example, that is very thirsty, I put 2 strands in. So I take one and I just feed it through the outer holes and stick it through like that. And then you see the dangly bits down there. They hang in the reservoir and act as the wicking thing. Now what else I do as well is, if the roots are thirsty, like for example an oncidium, I also raise the loop a little higher, making the strands shorter. And then I fill the leca in and keep those like a loop on the top, and the leca goes underneath, so I have an extra added height for the wicking to be a little bit more effective for the very thirsty plants. All right? Now, as I mentioned, if it's a thirsty plant, I put 2, and I take the other one and I just do the same thing, weaving them through the holes, but a little further apart, so that the reservoir is actually being used in its entirety and not just through the middle. Because I've got some OCD issues, I make sure they're straight, but that's not necessary. It'll wick either way, it'll wick. But now you see I have one flat on the bottom and one like a loop, which gives me extra height in the wicking. And then here you can see the strands. These will reach the bottom of the reservoir, and the middle ones will reach it from the jump straight. And when it lowers a bit, of course they won't, but that won't matter. By that time, the loop will have done its job until I refill the reservoir again. And it's great this way for really thirsty ones, but in the winter you don't want to overwater them unless they're in active growth and it's their climate. Then at least the longest strands will remain in the deposit, because I don't fill the deposit up full in winter, only halfway. So it's only 2 strands that will actually reach the deposit. So I think that works really well. All right. It was one of those casual coincidences that actually worked perfectly. Then I fill leca in, and then I put the plant and top it off, and that would be the concept of just topping up and potting up with microfiber. Now what I'm going to do with my podangus is a little bit different, and that's why I thought this would be a good time to show another option of semi-hydro and microfiber if you're not going to use a deposit. But sometimes we need that extra humidity, especially when we've got a plant like this that doesn't have many roots, and you need it to get as much humidity to the top as possible without you know, flooding everything out. So I'm going to just remove this here and see if I can get her off. I mean, she's not really that stuck. There's a little small plant that I used some floral glue on, and I'd like to see if I could save that, but she's not coming off as easily as I thought. So let's have a look. Let's do this carefully. And there's a root underneath the sphagnum moss. Can't really see it right now because it's the same color. It's quite green, dark green. But I need that to come. There we go, without messing up the little one. I want to see if I can grow this little one right here. I don't think it's going to do much, but it's been like that for a year, so I'm not going to lose hope. So pretty much with this podangus, I've been toying with the idea of putting it into a semi-hydro setup, but hesitating as well, as you do. You always double guess. Well, I always question myself anyway. No, I'm not going to cut anything off. This might help in anchoring. So it's not a big deal. I mean, normally they say take off everything that you can from an orchid, and you know, you want to clean roots and this, that, and the other, with especially with microbes developing. But on a little one like that, it's not going to be that big a deal, because this will be flushed regularly just to keep the oxygen flow going. So in this case, here are my 2 holes. I made it a little bit higher up because the fact that it's quite a tall glass, but I want humidity to go in all the way to the top. So I've got this one microfiber strand, which is the half of this size, and I'm going to lower it into the pot and leave it out, sticking out to the top. This way it is stuck in the reservoir. Okay, now I have some other things that I prefer to do, because I'm not sure about the stability of this little one when it's in the pot. I'm a little bit concerned. So for the sake of this video, I'm just going to do this because it can go very bad. It can actually backfire a little bit because I'd be moving the plant too much to get to what I want to do. But I'm going to make like a little support inside the pot that will help me stabilize the plant on the surface. So this is what I actually do for all my pots that have tall plants that need a little bit of more stability and support. And then I don't take that stake out again, because sometimes it also in future helps me direct some growth in, for example, like the cattleyas, or if the blooms need help, if it's a windy day, then, you know, I do a little loop and I support a little bit the structures It helps also in how to grow the growth, which direction. So I don't normally remove them once a plant is established. So this is pretty crude looking, but it is what the principle is about. I hope all that was somewhat in frame. Like I said, first time. And then you stick it in there, and then you have like a little thing to tie your orchid to. Now because this one is going to be more in the middle, I bend it down. This wire is plastic coated. I haven't used it for the majority of my orchids because back in the day it was too much of an investment. But now that I only do every once in a while an orchid, I use this white plastic covered coated wire. And it's easier on my hands as well. It doesn't hurt so much when I'm manipulating them. Boy, are my hands taking a beating. Oh my word. They don't know whether they're coming or going. I'm moisturizing, sanitizing, moisturizing. I wear gloves when the groceries come in. I spray everything down with bleach, blah, blah, blah. And my hands are just like, and then you have to moisturize, and then, oh no, oh gosh, back to the sanitizer. So they look a little bit awful. So anyway, here's the principle. You stick one of these things in the middle, has a little circle on the bottom. If the plant is being placed onto the back, I usually then just leave it straight, but now because I'm going to put the podungus into the middle of the pot, I've actually maneuvered it a little bit and bent it towards the center, there, bent it towards the center of the circle. Comme ça. Alright, so basically that goes then in the bottom of the pot. I can see the height here. Normally I don't poke my eyes out, but I am known to be a bit clumsy. A bit being an understatement, but for the sake of not talking negative about oneself and keeping self-talk positive, I'll stick to a bit. And there it is in the pot. Now, what I will do is stick the microfiber into the bottom and let it hang over the edge, but let it touch all the way to the bottom of the reservoir. And I will start filling up my pot with leca. Now in this case, because it is a smallish kind of epiphyte, what I actually have here is not so big leca. You see, now I can leave the little hole alone and it will stand on its own. I have actually gone through my leca bucket and picked out medium, stay here, of course, medium to small size leca. For the purpose of the fact that I want these roots to go down. A ver. Estamos hablando español de vez en cuando, Gloria. Así que, alright. So these guys are medium to small because I don't have many roots that can absorb any moisture. So I want it to be as humid as possible around the plant. So let's have a look. This is going to be like that for the time being. And I know you can't see anything. Sorry, I just looked. All right. So I'm going to put it in a little bit deeper to begin with. My microfiber strand is still poking out the top, but now I'm going to put it around where I think the roots will go to search out the moisture, just around the top there. And then I'll just fill them up as you do. And let's hope for the best because I really want this little guy to make it. I really want to see its bloom. And I'm going to take this mask . I love these little old pots that you get. I keep them because they have holes on the bottom. And when it comes to taking the leca out of my RO bucket where I soak the leca, it just filters the water out because look, the nasty that's in there. Look at the color of that water. So this is unfortunately really freshly prepared leca, which I'm not too keen on. But for the sake of this video and the fact I've been toying with this idea for my podungus all this time, look at that, great measurements. We're going to do this. And as I'm flushing, I'm not too worried. I just don't like it because I know the leca can be a better can be cleaner, you know. Now normally you would tap everything down and get everything settled, but there's nothing to settle here. I don't even think I need the little hook. She seems to be okay, as I'm not going to do much yanking or moving. Normally I would take a little wire like this as well, and then wrap it around my stake. A ver, vamos a venir un poquito más cercano. So that would be above my stake right here, and then I'd wrap it around the plant. But in this case, I actually don't need it. Now what I normally do as well, and seeing as I don't need to, I know exactly what this little one is over here. What I normally do, obviously, is put the label back in to the pot. But because I don't want water dropping around everywhere I go, I take the label, sorry, I don't want to break it at this point in time. So what I do, so when I put the label into the pot, I don't want to keep forgetting where the holes are and spill water as I go. I always put my label into the pot where the holes are. And this one has a ridge, so it's not going to go down all the way until I fiddle with it a bit more, which I will do, but off camera. But I hope that this is somewhat an understanding. So there's microfiber in the bottom. It's going to wick up all the way to here because that's where I laid it over, and then I put the plant in, and then I filled up with leca again. And so those are the two ways for these little guys that I use microfiber when I repot. One instance is like this, having them in a pot with strands going into a reservoir, and another one is like this if I don't have many roots to work with, but I want humidity to go as high as possible. So Gloria, I hope that this is helpful and that somehow you can do something similar. If you have any questions, if I haven't covered everything to its full degree, that you still are in doubt, please feel free to let me know. Y muchísimas gracias por tu pregunta. Agradezco mucho la conversación que estamos haciendo ahí en el YouTube. And everybody else, I also appreciate very much that you clicked and watched this video. And leave me any suggestions in how maybe I can improve my presentation. This was ad hoc. I had to do it because Gloria has been waiting and I couldn't figure out a better place at the moment, and my microphone is still in the mail. I hope that you heard me all right, and well, I hope you enjoyed the video. So thank you very much for watching, and I really appreciate it as always. I'll see you next time. Bye.